Hello, Miss Smith, and hi to all that are tuning in to my Apush Quarter 3 project. I know for my last project that I talked about the scandals of our earliest presidents and first ladies. Now I'm going to be discussing a more controversial topic, the annexation of Hawaii. I was supposed to visit Hawaii back in 2020 with my mother as a birthday present, but then the pandemic happened and that was canceled. Ever since that disappointment, Hawaii has always been on my mind, and when we learned about the annexation of Hawaii in class, I knew that would be a perfect project topic for me. I've always wanted to travel to Hawaii, and yet I never knew that there was a whole functioning culture and race of people before it was a state. So, without further ado, let me get into the annexation of Hawaii. It's estimated that the first Hawaiian settlers, mostly from Malaysia, arrived to the islands in 400 BC. The white man first interacted with the Hawaiians when Captain James Cook landed in Kauai. The missionaries followed in 1820, bringing diseases that would later terminate the Hawaiians' population. When Cook arrived, Hawaii was not united. It had multiple different tribes and chiefs. Kamehameha I was interested in the white man's weapons and military tactics, that he would later go on to use those tactics and weapons to unite the other islands. From 1791 to 1810, Kamehameha conquered and united the islands into one kingdom, the Hawaii Kingdom. It was later decided that sugar was Hawaii's main economic force, which is when the first sugar plant was established. Sugar specifically is what Hawaii's main export was. More Americans came to Hawaii wanting to make it big in the sugar business, along with missionaries wanting to convert the Hawaiian people. The Americans started to dominate Hawaii's economy with their sugar plantations, so it makes sense that when more Americans moved to Hawaii, the U.S. government became more interested in the island. In 1874, the Hawaiian legislature decided that the next king in line was David Kalakaua, who decided to be allies with the United States, even going as far to sell Pearl Harbor to the U.S. His reign was ironic because he wanted to renew the Hawaiian culture, but in the end, he basically weakened the Hawaiian monarchy. In 1887, he was pressured to sign the 1887 Constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii, or known as the Bayonet Constitution. This constitution was made from leaders of the Hawaiian League, a mostly white local militia. Their reasoning for making this constitution was the belief that natives are not suited to govern their own country and that white people could do it better. This constitution would strip King Kalakaua of his powers, foreigners would be able to vote while the natives would not, and limited the king's military power. King Kalakaua signed this constitution because he was threatened by the Hawaiian League. Following the signed constitution, aspects of the traditional Hawaiian culture were prohibited, such as even speaking the Hawaiian language. After King Kalakaua died in 1891, his sister Queen Liliuokalani rose to the throne. Queen Liliuokalani drafted a new constitution to try and undo the Bayonet Constitution and restore her citizens' rights. It ultimately failed due to the Committee of Annexation with the help of the U.S. government, whose logic was that the annexation would benefit Hawaii's economy. With the help of the U.S.'s Minister of Hawaii, John Stevens coordinated a fleet of military ships to Honolulu. This is when a coup is officially started by the United States, which is blasphemy in foreign relations. They overthrew Queen Liliuokalani and established the Republic of Hawaii. Sanford Dole, yes, Dole like the food company, was the president of the Republic of Hawaii. The U.S. president at the time, Grover Cleveland, ordered for the American flag to be lowered from Hawaii's government building and for Queen Liliuokalani to be returned to the throne. But Dole refused and argued that the United States had no right to intervene with Hawaii's affair, which is very ironic considering that the United States inserted themselves to the situation in the first place. Both Dole and local Hawaiians went to D.C. to ask Congress what was the fate of Hawaii, both advocating for different sides. Until 1898, the debate was at a standstill, but new President William McKinley favored annexation and desired American expansion. In 1898, Hawaii was officially possessed by the United States. After Hawaii was being possessed, the United States started to uproot all the culture in Hawaii, going as far as to ban the language in schools. They even made a law that said that governments and businesses needed to be conducted in English. Later in 1959, Hawaii became the 50th state. And in 1993, President Bill Clinton apologized to the people of Hawaii for the involvement in the removal of the Hawaiian monarchy, and he acknowledged that the act was illegal. Before I end my video, I wanted to take some time to talk about Queen Liliuokalani. She was born Lydia Lilioku Walani Kamaka Eha in 1838 near Honolulu. Her family was made up of advisor and high-ranking officials to the monarchy. Due to Hawaiian traditions, she was raised by parents of a higher rank than her birth parents. This tradition is called hanai, and it's similar to adoption, but the children know their biological family. Liliuokalani was baptized at age 4 and educated by an English-speaking school. She later became a member of King Kamehameha IV's court. The queen was musically talented and played multiple instruments. She composed numerous hymns and songs, but her most famous hymn is Aloha Oe, which has been sung by Elvis Presley. Her music reached her people, and her people loved her music. She was known to be quite the philanthropist and loved giving back to her people. She made a trust for the education of Hawaiian girls, and she raised money to build Hawaii's first hospital, which was very important because of the diseases that the white people had brought to Hawaii. She married American John Dominius, a commander in the royal court in 1862. When she became queen and was trying to take back her throne, the American press were targeting her in the newspapers. Racist cartoons were drawn and false claims about Her Majesty would be made, especially about her race. In 1895, she was arrested and placed on house arrest in the Iolani Palace. After her release, she spent the rest of her life advocating for Hawaiian rights and her right to be the monarch. She unsuccessfully sued the U.S. government in 1909 to return 1.7 million acres of land that the U.S. seized. When she died in 1917, she gave all her money to the children of Hawaii. After a week of learning about this topic, I am extremely heartbroken. Situations like these make me embarrassed to be an American. It is obvious that the U.S. government shouldn't have illegally taken over Hawaii. I am somewhat grateful that the government has apologized and recognized that what they did was illegal, but they could do so much more for the Hawaiian people. I don't want to make this outro long with my thoughts because I can't speak for the Hawaiian people and how they feel. I feel like everyone should know about the annexation of Hawaii and learn a little bit more about Hawaii's culture. When I eventually visit Hawaii after the pandemic, I will definitely be making my trip focused around the local culture and the experiences that the island has to offer. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day!